A 27-year-old woman, 8 months pregnant with her first child, vanished on Christmas Eve in 2002, leaving no trace behind. Her husband reported her missing from their home in Modesto, California, sparking a massive search effort that gripped the community and the country. 4 months later, her body and of her unborn son would be discovered on the shores of San Francisco Bay. Lassie was born on May 4, 1975. She enjoyed gardening with her mother and also worked in a dairy farm since she was young. Her parents got divorced when she and her brother were still young, and her mother moved with the children to Modesto, but they still visited their father on weekends at the farm. Her mother got into a relationship with Ron Gransky, who would help her to raise the children. Lassie became a cheerleader in junior high and high school, then later after graduating from high school attended California Polytechnic State University, majoring in ornamental horticulture. While at California Polytechnic, Lassie would occasionally visit a restaurant in Morro Bay known as Pacific Cafe to see a friend who worked there. Coincidentally, her husband Scott, who by then was still a stranger, also worked there. In 1994, Lassie gave Scott her number and he reached out to her. Then they started dating. Lassie had also told her mother that she had met the man of her dreams that she would marry. Scott put aside his dreams for professional golfing so as to focus on a business career. They dated for 2 years and ended up moving in together. After Lassie graduated in 1997, they got married as Scott finished his senior year and Lassie got a job in Pronedel. It is said that also during this time, Scott had started getting engaged in his first extramarital affair, but no more information about it was released. He graduated in 1998 and together with his wife opened a sports bar in San Luis Obispo called The Shack. They put it up for sale when they moved to Lassie's hometown of Modesto, California. The two then purchased a 3-bedroom bungalow for $117,000 in an upscale neighborhood on Coniva Avenue. Lassie's family related that she devoted herself to being a perfect housewife and at the same time enjoying cooking, watching, and entertaining herself. In 2002, Lassie got pregnant, with her due date being February 10, 2003. The couple then planned to name their son Connor. On December 23, 2002, at around 5 p.m., Lassie and Scott went to Salon, where Lassie's sister Amy worked and she cut Scott's hair as she always did each month. Scott then offered to pick up a fruit basket that was ordered by Amy, since the retailer was close to the golf club that he said he would be visiting the following day. Lassie's mother spoke to her on the phone at around 8:30 that evening and ended up being among the last 3 people who spoke to Lassie together with Amy and Scott. Scott told the police that the last time he saw his wife was about 9:30 a.m. on December 24th when he left to go fishing at Buckley Marina. He also stated that Lassie was watching a Martha Stewart show and preparing to mop the floor, bake cookies, and walk the family dog to a nearby park. A neighbor to the couple going by the name Mackenzie said that she saw their dog, a golden retriever, outside the home and returned him to the couple's backyard at around 10:30 a.m. She then later testified that she found the dog at 10:18 a.m. Another neighbor, Mike, said he saw Mackenzie, the first neighbor, at about 10:45 a.m. as he played with his own dog. At 2:15 p.m., Scott left a message for Lassie stating, "Hey beautiful, it's 2:15. I'm leaving Buckley." Scott said When he returned home that afternoon, Lassie's car was still in the driveway, but the house was empty. He also stated that he had found Mackenzie in their backyard and later told Lassie's mother about this, of which Lassie's mother denied this claim later on in her book. Scott then showered and washed his clothes. A neighbor of theirs also said that Scott had knocked on his door asking if he had seen Lassie. The neighbor and his wife also testified that they had heard Scott saying that he was golfing that day. One of Lassie's relatives also testified that same day when friends and family started gathering at Scott's home, that Scott said he was golfing earlier. Scott had called his mother-in-law to ask if Lassie was with her. Lassie's mother and her stepfather both proceeded to report that Lassie was missing. Modesto police detectives Alan Brochini and John Bueller responded to the missing person call and became the lead investigators for the case. The detectives found Lassie's keys, wallet, sunglasses, and a purse in a closet, then began organizing a search area. Over about 900 of Lassie's friends and family, together with neighbors, searched the neighborhood and posted missing person flyers. Over 30 Modesto police and firefighters on foot, horseback, bicycles, and watercraft used canine units and satellite-equipped helicopters to search Dry Creek and the surrounding area. A $25,000 reward was offered, later $250,000, then finally increased to $500,000 for information leading to Lassie's safe return. A website known as LassiePeterson.com was formed by one of Lassie's friend's husband. Family, friends, and volunteers set up a command center at the Red Lion Hotel to receive and circulate information. Although the cops did not initially consider the case suspicious, they became increasingly suspicious of Scott as time went by. In 2017, Bella, one of the detectives, told ABC News, and I quote, "I suspected Scott when I first met him. Didn't mean he did it, but I was a little bit thrown off by his calm, cool demeanor and his lack of questioning. He wasn't, 'Will you call me back? Can I have one of your cards? What are you guys doing now?' End of quote. He also described his behavior as being, and I quote, "a strange combination of polite and arrogant, disaffectedly distant and impatiently irritable. He just didn't seem like a man who was crushed or even greatly disturbed by his wife's disappearance and possible death." End of quote. The media coverage produced several tips, one of which came from a woman, Amber Frey, who claimed to be Scott's girlfriend. On December 30th, she informed the detectives that she had met Scott back in November 20th, and he'd told her that he was a widower and that would be his first Christmas without his wife. Due to the information provided by Amber, the detectives believed that Scott had planned to kill his wife 2 weeks before her disappearance. The detectives then went ahead and gave Amber a device to record her conversations with Scott in hopes that he would confess. On April 13, 2003, two people while walking their dog discovered the body of a male fetus on a tidal flat of the San Francisco Bay shore in Richmond's Point Isabel Regional Shoreline Park. The following day, a jogger discovered a human torso approximately 1 mile from where the body of the fetus was found. On April 18, 2003, DNA tests verified the bodies were Lassie and her unborn baby Connor. Although the judge sealed the autopsy results, an anonymous Associated Press source revealed that Connor's body had minor decomposition, mutilations on his right side, and a length of nylon cord wrapped around his body. The source of the mutilations and how the cord became wrapped around Connor's body could not be conclusively determined. Lassie's body was missing its head, arms, and most of its legs, its internal organs, and was severely decomposed. The autopsy also revealed Lassie had 2 cracked ribs and her uterus and cervix were intact. Dr. Peterson concluded Connor had died in the uterus and his body was expelled from Lassie's decomposed corpse. The discovery of Lassie's and Connor's bodies changed the case status from missing person to homicide and allowed the detectives to expand their investigation of Scott Peterson as the crime suspect. The FBI and Modesto Police Department performed forensic searches of the Peterson home. Using mitochondrial DNA testing, the FBI linked a hair wrapped around a pair of pliers found in Scott's fishing boat to hairs discovered from Lassie's hairbrush. Police searched Scott's truck, toolbox, and warehouse and found a homemade concrete anchor in the boat Scott purchased 2 weeks before he reported Lassie missing. Scott told detectives he used a 90-pound bag of concrete to make one boat anchor and used the rest of the concrete to repair his driveway. When Detective Henry Dodge Handy searched Scott's warehouse on December 27th, he found a cement powder on the boat trailer and 5 circular marks matching the size and shape of the bucket used to make the anchor. A sledgehammer was also found and a dustpan covered with cement powder. Prosecutors alleged that Scott had made 5 anchors and used 4 of them, tied to Lassie's wrists and ankles, to sink her body in San Francisco Bay. After Scott was arrested, police searched the San Francisco Bay for the anchors, but nothing was found. On April 18, 2003, detectives arrested Peterson at the Torrey Pines Golf Course in La Jolla as he was meeting his father and brother for a golf game. Peterson had dyed his hair and beard blonde, and his vehicle was packed with equipment and supplies, including nearly $15,000 in cash, Viagra tablets, camping and survival equipment, several changes of clothes, 4 cell phones, and 2 driver's licenses, that is, his and his brother's. Lee Peterson, Scott's father, explained Scott used his brother's license to get a San Diego resident discount at the golf course and was living in his car to avoid media attention and harassment. Police and prosecutors alleged the switched car, dyed hair, money, phones, driver's license, and camping equipment indicated Peterson was trying to disguise himself and flee to Mexico. Scott pleaded not guilty to the charges of first-degree murder for Lassie and second-degree murder for their unborn son Connor. He was initially appointed a public defender, but later, high-profile attorney Mark Geragos joined his defense team. The trial began in 2004 and lasted for several months. The prosecution presented a strong case, including forensic evidence and testimonies that suggested Scott's motive and opportunity to commit the crime. The defense argued that there was no direct evidence linking Scott to the murders. In November 2004, Scott Peterson was found guilty of first-degree murder for Lassie and second-degree murder for Connor. He was sentenced to death in March 2005. Over the years, Scott's legal team filed numerous appeals. In 2020, the California Supreme Court overturned his death sentence, citing issues with jury selection during the original trial. In December 2021, Scott was resentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.